So FTX has obviously been selling a lot of their estate, so a lot of the assets that they hold. They just finished up their big tranche that they have of locked Solana.
I don't think we finished it necessarily. I'm not sure that that's 100% true if it's finished or not. I don't think we have clear reporting on it, if I'm being honest. But it's being they have started their last bit of selling of Solana.
Right. Okay. What's interesting is that if you bought some of it right now, you can buy it for $100. There are some bids that were 95. I think the lowest they accepted was $85.
Yeah.
And I mean, currently Solana's at what, 140, I said at the top of the show.
Yeah.
And was, I mean, just a few days ago or a few weeks ago was over 200. And so anyone getting it for $85 is, that's pretty good. Now, I think they have to hold it for a certain amount of time.
So here's the thing. It's locked Solana is what's being sold. So my understanding, but I'm not 100 on this, is because these are insider tokens, basically, that Alameda, Sam, FTX had because they were early investors in Solana. It's basically like investor tokens you're getting. So they're locked. Now, what's interesting is these have been selling at crazy discounts. These are actually not so bad right now. This tranche that we're talking about, these are selling for 95, 100, whatever it is. And Solana's at 130, whatever it is. The last tranche they sold, and bear in mind also that what they're selling now is open to an auction. So you do have more everyday investors could get in on it. Whereas the last round was basically just sold to insiders, Galaxy Digital and others. That was sold at about $64. This was back in March when Solana was trading for 180, 200.
Wow. What?
So, folks, I think very rightfully saying this feels like the FTX estate and Sullivan and Cromwell and folks kind of throwing a bone to their friends essentially and letting them buy in at these sort of crazy discounted prices. Now, look, it's locked Solana. So it is going to trade at a discount because obviously it's not like you can turn around and arbitrage it right away and just sell it on the open market. But some of the reporting here that I think has been wrong is you've got reports saying, oh, it's locked for 4 years. The Solana is locked for 4 years, at which point it becomes very hard to know what is the right price, right? If something's locked up for 4 years, you can maybe justify that kind of discount. But it's actually unlocked over the course of 4 years. So the last bit of it will unlock in 2028, but you have a bunch of these Solana tokens unlocking within the next year. And they basically unlock monthly at particular distributions over the next 4 years. So my feeling is like $64. Again, this would happen back in March for tokens that were selling on the market for 180 is too steep a discount for what these tokens are. But they're course correcting a little bit here in May with the selling that they're doing. But this is frankly, and last thing I'll say on this is also just frustration with there's not a lot of transparency. Like when the bankruptcy estate reports on what they've sold, they lump a lot of coins together. So they say, hey, from the Alameda stash, we sold all of these tokens, and they'll give you one lump sum number, right? 1.8 billion was sold of all of these tokens. And you're sort of left to try and parse out what was Solana, what were other things. There's not a lot of incentive on behalf of the FTX bankruptcy team to provide a lot of transparency here, which always gets my hackles up a little bit.
So you've been living, breathing FTX in this whole situation, which is still continuing. I think most of us have kind of forgot about it at this point now that SBF is gone, but there's still a lot going on. Carly, why are you still in it? What are you noticing? Is there anything that you want to?
Why am I obsessed with the price at which they're selling Solana tokens? I was like, stop talking, please. Nobody cares actually this much about the sale. Yes, I've been tracking this really closely. I think the first thing that caught my attention was after the trial, I was sort of still following things a little bit. I reported on the Sam Bankman-Fried trial pretty closely. And the first thing that sort of caught my attention is the fact that Sullivan and Cromwell, big American-based law firm, top whatever 5, I don't know exactly what they are, big law firm here. They were attorneys for FTX US back in its heyday. And in fact, the general counsel for FTX US was a former Sullivan and Cromwell partner. So really deep ties between the two companies. And Sullivan and Cromwell then has remained on and is the law firm running the FTX bankruptcy post-collapse. It is incredibly strange. I don't know of another example of that. And I've talked to other bankruptcy experts, bankruptcy attorneys. Enron, when Enron went down, the lawyers went to jail, right? It's very unusual that you are a law firm representing one of the highest profile frauds of all time. And you basically get a pay raise and a promotion at the end of that, at the end of that situation. Now, there's a crazy amount of nuance here. Sullivan and Cromwell would claim they really weren't primary attorneys for FTX US. That's very disputed. And I could give you their fee structure and be like, that really doesn't make sense given how much they were paid, when they did work for FTX during its prime. So that was strange to me. And the more I've dug into it, and I don't want to get over my skis here or say anything, but like the more you look into it, the stranger this bankruptcy becomes. And bankruptcies are always weird. I will say that. Bankruptcies are always weird. There's always shenanigans. There's always insider dealing, right? The Solana token piece that I just spoke about, it's somewhat par for the course. But there's a bigger picture here of things that go beyond just normal strangeness with a bankruptcy. And again, I'm talking to bankruptcy attorneys who are law professors who have nothing to do with crypto, who have been looking at this bankruptcy going, this is weird even for bankruptcy. And so without, putting up pictures on a wall and going full A Beautiful Mind on you here and like laying out everything that I think is strange about this whole situation, I've stayed on it because my feeling is the collapse of FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried is makes for very sexy headlines. You have the boy genius, the effective altruist who turns out he was robbing people of their money. Like that's a very easy story to follow and an easy story to, make sexy headlines about. But it's not really representative, I think, of the way in which people are screwed on a regular basis. It's kind of an anomaly. The Sam Bankman-Frieds of the world are an anomaly. But the subtle, arcane, boring, document-oriented ways that these kind of wealthy, big, powerful law firms that are very interconnected with the government and very interconnected with everybody, the way they bend the rules or change the rules to fit them at the expense of creditors in this case, or customers in this case, that actually feels very indicative of ways in which the system is flawed and a problem. And it's a lot less sexy because again, it's a lot more, here's this line in this document agreement that you violated, but the result of that violation is that you've made $100 million and customers didn't get that money back. And customers, frankly, there's a lot of headlines around customers are getting their money back. They're not. Again, this is where you can get deeper on this, but that's really, for me, what's been motivating.
Essentially, you're saying it's not just about FTX and this scandal. There is a scandal underlying here with potentially the law firm that was involved with FTX, and it's still happening right now. And that's why you're kind of fighting the good fight for us out here.
Yeah. It's why I'm staying on the story. I think I cover this a lot on the Carly P. Riley show, my show on YouTube. So I keep kind of drip feeding things out. But at some point here, and I'm talking to a number of folks, we want to, in as simple a way as possible, give this bigger perspective because exactly as you said, I think there's a bigger story here that's being missed because it's more complicated and it lacks the like high profile sex appeal of the 30-year-old billionaire.
I don't get scared about many things, but I feel like that's like risky business. If Carly all of a sudden just disappears, we know who did it. And
this is why I'm trying to actually be very responsible about what I said. I don't want to get over my skis because I think the way somebody put it, if you're going to shoot at the king, don't miss. You know what I mean?